Welcome. You've arrived in a place where time slows down, where stories unfold gently, and where the world of the past is soft and hushed. Tonight, we drift quietly into the calm and orderly world of ancient Rome's bureaucracy, a realm of wax tablets, smooth marble corridors, sandals brushing on tiled floors, and the faint rustle of scrolls unrolling. As you settle into rest, you don't need to do anything. Just lie back, breathe slowly, and listen as the whispering past gently surrounds you. Let the echoes of ancient offices and peaceful scribes guide your thoughts as you float closer to sleep. And now, let us begin. The sun rises slowly over the hills outside the city of Rome. It touches the red-tiled rooftops with a golden hush, then spills softly across the rooftops, onto cobbled alleys, and down toward the Grand Forum. Rome is waking, but not with noise or commotion. Not here, not yet. In the quieter quarters near the Capitoline Hill, the tabularium, Rome's great record-keeping office, rests in a morning stillness. Its tall, columned facade is washed in pale light, and its windows glint gently like amber eyes peeking into the day. Inside, all is orderly and clean. There's a faint scent of parchment and cedarwood oil. The marble floors are smooth under sandaled feet. The walls are lined with neat cubbies filled with scrolls and ledgers, sorted by region, by date, by decree. Each one is tied with a soft strip of linen, carefully labeled in ink. Before anyone begins work, a quiet stillness hangs over the place, the kind of hush one might find in a temple or a garden just before dawn. You might imagine the faint tap-tap of a janitor's broom against the flagstones, the creak of a heavy wooden door swinging gently open, the distant call of a dove from a rooftop nearby. Here in the Cancellaria, the central clerical office, the scribes will soon begin their day. Lucius Aelius, a mid-level scribe of the Roman administration, rises from his simple bedroll in a modest apartment not far from the forum. He washes his hands and face with cool water from a ceramic basin. He dresses without hurry, slipping on his tunica, wrapping a simple woolen toga over one shoulder, and fastening it gently with a fibula pin. He moves like one who has repeated this routine for years. Every motion has purpose, but no rush. He eats a quiet breakfast, perhaps a piece of soft bread dipped in olive oil, a few dried figs, and a cup of watered wine. The city outside murmurs to life, but in his home, all is still. Lucius gathers his tools, a stylus, ink, parchment, and a small wax tablet folded neatly like a book. He places them in a leather satchel. The strap creaks softly as it falls over his shoulder. The path to his office is quiet. Along the way, he passes vendors setting up stalls. The smell of fresh baked bread drifts from a bakery window. A woman draws water from a public fountain, the rope sliding softly over worn stone. At the gates of the administrative quarter, Lucius nods to a sleepy guard. The day's work is about to begin, not with orders, not with chaos, but with calm. The Cancellaria is not a dramatic place. It is steady, structured, and full of quiet rhythm. This is the heart of Rome's civil service, a world of scribes, record-keepers, tax clerks, and archivists who help the empire run smoothly without ever stepping foot on a battlefield. Here, in the stone-walled heart of the administration, voices are soft. Pens glide over parchment, styluses press gently into wax tablets. The air smells of ink, beeswax, and polished wood. Desks are arranged in rows, each holding a scribe's tools. Inkpots carved from clay. Thin brushes or reed pens. Bronze weights for pressing seals. Scroll holders and ribbon ties. And wax tablets that gleam faintly in the lamplight. The morning begins with sorting, yesterday's documents to be copied, reviewed, or sealed. Lucius finds his station. He lights a small oil lamp and sets it beside his work. The flame flickers quietly, casting a soft glow. His hand moves to unroll a scroll, revealing lines of neat Latin script. This is no hurried place. A mistake in a name or a figure could ripple across provinces. So Lucius reads carefully. He copies the text with a slow, practiced hand. He dips his pen into ink, writes, pauses, breathes. Beyond the stone walls, Rome bustles. But here, inside this bureaucratic sanctuary, time stretches, breathes, and slows. What kinds of things do these scribes record? Many things. Tax assessments, property deeds, citizenship grants, military postings, grain shipments, and census lists. Every detail of Rome's vast empire, Every name, every coin, every law, must be preserved. Lucius is reviewing the property tax assessments from a district near Hispania. The figures are precise. How many olive trees, how much land under cultivation, the number of slaves and livestock. All noted in clean lines. These scrolls will later be transferred to the archives beneath the Capitol, where the oldest records sleep in perfect silence, some for generations. Another scribe passes by. He carries a small clay seal, still warm from the press. It will affix today's notices. There is no rush in his step. Letters from the provinces arrive throughout the day. Messengers bring them in linen wrappings. Some are sealed with wax, others just folded and tied. Each one is unrolled and copied by a clerk before being sent onward. This is the world of the officium, the office. Not of grand speeches or marble statues, but of thought, of records, of careful hands doing careful work. Time in the Roman world isn't tracked by watches or bells but by the natural flow of sunlight across the courtyards and corridors. As the third hour approaches, roughly mid-morning by modern standards, the golden light shifts gently through the high windows of the cancellaria. Long shadows stretch across polished floors. The warmth of the day begins to gather slowly against the stone. Lucius puts down his pen and stretches his fingers. Around him, the other clerks do the same. One leans back and breathes a little sigh. Another carefully seals a scroll and slides it into its designated shelf, labeled, logged, and gently stored. They are not machines. They are thinkers, writers, keepers of the empire's quiet continuity. And like all workers, they take time to rest. There's no loud bell, no horn. The pause is known simply by rhythm, the rhythm of sun and habit. From a small side room, a boy enters carrying a tray of cups. Each contains posca, a diluted, slightly tangy drink of water mixed with a splash of vinegar or wine. Not luxurious, but refreshing. It cools the throat and brings a little alertness to the mind. Lucius takes a cup and sips slowly. Work resumes with gentle purpose. This hour is often spent reviewing regional reports. Scrolls arriving from across the empire, from the olive groves of Numidia, the vineyards of Gaul, the grain stores of Egypt. Each document has its place in a well-organized system. The records office operates under a strict hierarchy, not harsh, but carefully tiered. At the base are junior clerks, who deliver messages, prepare parchment, and log entries. Then come the scribes, men like Lucius, who transcribe and review, summarize, and sometimes compose official replies. Above them are the tabellari, trusted officials who oversee communication, ensure accuracy, and sometimes handle confidential correspondence. They walk with scrolls tucked under their arms, nodding politely as they pass. At the top is the scribnarius, the master of the archive. His chambers are always the quietest. He speaks softly, signs documents with a seal of authority, and is known to drink his tea beside a small fig tree growing in a clay pot by his window. Every scroll has a journey. Received, copied, logged, stored, and sometimes forwarded again. The journey may take weeks, yet it always arrives. The system, though slow, is steadfast. Even mistakes are rare, not because the scribes are perfect, but because their work is calm, unhurried, and focused. Rome's bureaucracy does not forget. In the lower levels of the tabularium, beneath the offices and courtyards, lie the archives. Long, cool corridors lined with clay jars, stone tablets, and bundles of scrolls. Each marked in a system of cataloging that only the most practiced archivists truly understand. The air is cooler here, filled with the scent of dry parchment and stone. No fire is ever lit in these halls, too dangerous. Light comes only from small oil lamps, spaced widely, placed with care. Lucius has only been below once. It is not a place for distraction. It is a place of memory, of preservation. He remembers the silence there, thick, but not eerie. A quiet that felt sacred, like walking through time itself. He'd seen scrolls written in the years before he was born. Ledgers listing ships that once docked in the harbors of Ostia. Receipts for temple donations, marriage records, citizenship grants, even weather reports from governors far away. The empire is built not only on stone, but on scrolls. By midday, the office slowly empties. Not in haste, but in custom. The scribes take turns departing in small groups. Some step into the garden courtyard behind the building. There, under fig trees and cypress, stone benches offer a cool place to sit. Birds flit between branches. The sound of leaves in the breeze is gentle and unbroken. Lucius finds his favorite spot, nestled near a small fountain. The sound of trickling water is hypnotic, a soft music that hums in the background. Lunch is simple: a piece of barley bread, a small wedge of cheese, a few olives. Nothing more is needed. Scribes chat in low tones, nothing urgent, nothing loud. A few speak of philosophy. Others share quiet jokes about scrolls gone missing or a poorly tied wax seal. No one raises their voice. The day is too warm, the garden too peaceful. The empire, vast and unwieldy, may seem like a roaring beast. But here in the bureaucratic heart, it breathes softly. After the calm of the midday meal, the scribes return to their posts. There is no ringing bell to call them back, no barked command or hurried scramble. Instead, the return is like the tide, soft, inevitable, and rhythmic. The garden quiets. Clay cups are left neatly on stone tables. And soon, the halls of the cancellaria once again echo with the soft sounds of pens brushing parchment, the click of seals, and the distant footsteps of sandaled feet on marble. Lucius resumes his place. The afternoon is for messages. Letters from the provinces, dispatches from commanders, and petitions from the people. Each message is received with calm care. Each one opened, read, noted, copied. Most are not urgent. Requests for citizenship reviews, tax clarifications, grain shipment reports, and building approvals. Some contain news from far-flung lands, from the green hills of Britannia, the burning sands of Africa, or the cold shores of the Black Sea. For Lucius, these messages are like whispers from beyond, reminders that though Rome is vast, its pulse reaches even here, quietly, with ink and scroll. Not every scribe remains seated. Some messages must travel. Enter the tabellarius, the Roman courier. These quiet figures glide in and out of the building without ceremony. They are trusted and swift, but not reckless. Clad in simple cloaks with leather satchels over their shoulders, they carry scrolls from town to town, city to city, province to province. They do not ride in dramatic haste like messengers of legend. They travel steadily, with dignity. Each route is mapped, each stop carefully scheduled. Their work, like the entire system, is not hurried, it is consistent. Lucius watches one pass now, a woman, lean and quiet-eyed. She accepts a scroll, checks the seal, tucks it into her satchel, and vanishes through the archway, her sandals brushing softly against the floor. She'll pass inns, way stations, and relay points on her journey. In time, that scroll may arrive at a governor's villa or a port city office. And the message, though delivered days later, will still carry weight. The empire trusts in its scribes, and in its messengers. Now and then, the office must prepare a formal decree, an edictum. These are not issued lightly. Each one begins as a thought, a discussion, a petition. Then it becomes a draft, carefully composed by senior scribes and reviewed by a legal mind, such as a praetor or consul. Lucius has only once been asked to copy a final version. It was a moment of quiet pride. That edict concerned land use in the Latium region. It was worded in calm, legal Latin, with soft phrases like, under good faith and practice of the people, and, let it be known without prejudice. Such words do not command with iron, but with paper, gentle yet firm. Once completed, the edict is sealed, copied, and affixed to a wooden board to be posted in the forum. Others are mailed to regional governors. The process is slow, deliberate, yet it shapes the world. Not in a storm, but in a gentle rain of rules and routines that keep cities moving, roads repaired, taxes counted, and grain distributed. Within the officium, there are many quiet roles. There are notary, shorthand scribes who transcribe speeches or court records using swift symbols. There are actuary, accountants who manage grain ledgers and tax reports. Some focus on military records, others on legal codes. Still others, like Lucius, manage general civil documents. Each role has its place, its desk, and its custom. There is no need for shouting or authority displays. Each person knows their duty, and the slow machine of Roman bureaucracy turns like a well-oiled wheel. Even at its peak, when Rome ruled over 50 million souls, its scribes worked in soft order. They didn't need to conquer. They needed only to write, read, seal, and send. And in that, they found meaning. Lucius often thought of this as he watched others around him, their calm expressions, their careful work. He imagined the same scene playing out in a dozen other cities, in different languages and climates, but always with the same slow grace. As the sun tilts lower in the sky, golden shafts of light stretch across the office floors like long fingers pointing toward dusk. The atmosphere changes subtly, voices soften further, the scribes slow their pace. Lucius knows the signs. The final scrolls are being copied. Ledgers are gently closed, inkpots are capped, and wax tablets are wrapped in linen to keep them cool and clean. There is no rush, no bell to signal the end of the day, only a shared awareness. The light becomes softer, more golden, filtering through dusty high windows. A breeze picks up from the river, whispering faintly through open arches. In these last hours, the scribes begin to prepare the scrolls for storage. They tie them with narrow silk ribbons, each color coded for its type, green for legal, red for property, blue for grain. Labels are affixed with care, each bearing the same precise handwriting, like a signature of calm. Lucius smiles softly as he completes his final copy. He smooths the parchment with the back of his hand. It is clean, accurate, and will be filed beneath the capital's stone vaults before the week is done. As scrolls are completed, they are passed to the junior archivists, young men and women often in their first years of service. Their job is not glamorous, but it is sacred. Each scroll is handled carefully. They are sorted not only by content, but by region, year, and sender. A wrong shelf could mean months of delay, so the archivists move deliberately. The tabularium beneath the building accepts the scrolls like an old friend. With cool air and walls thick with centuries of stored knowledge, it offers a space of peace. Dust dances slowly in the lamplight, and the scent of beeswax and old parchment fills the nostrils like incense. Lucius sometimes assists when the archivists are busy. He enjoys the quiet of the lower vaults. The echo of his footsteps, the cold stone underfoot, the cool hush, it feels like stepping into the mind of Rome itself. He places his scroll on a wide shelf beside others from the same prefecture. His task complete, he lingers just a moment, letting the stillness wash over him. As the light fades outside, a few scribes remain for what they call the quiet hour, a time when the main tasks of the day are done, but the office remains open for light copying and personal notations. This is Lucius's favorite part of the day. A scribe may copy a favored passage from Cicero or Caesar. Others pen letters home or review old records with a thoughtful eye. The room is lit now only by oil lamps, their flames low and steady, casting soft golden pools of light upon the stone desks. The air smells of old paper and lamp oil, slightly smoky but comforting. Lucius opens a small scroll he began some weeks ago, a personal project, a catalogue of rare birds observed near the Tiber. It is not official, but no one minds. The empire may rest upon ledgers and law, but it allows room for curiosity. He draws a feather beside one entry, carefully inked. It is quiet, it is simple, it is his. When the 9th hour arrives, and dusk falls completely, the final scrolls are placed in their trays, and the scribes begin to leave. Tools are stored in wooden drawers. Lamps are extinguished one by one, their smoke curling gently upward. The marble walls glow in the fading light, holding the warmth of the day for just a few moments longer. Lucius walks slowly to the doorway, his sandals making a soft sound on the polished stone. Outside, the stars are beginning to appear. The wind carries the scent of distant fires, someone roasting chestnuts, perhaps. Or the faint perfume of crushed basil from a nearby courtyard. He pauses, looks up at the darkening sky. Rome rests, but never sleeps. And yet, here, in the quiet world of its paperkeepers and seal pressers, it has found its stillness. Lucius walks home slowly, past fountains and fig trees, past windows glowing with amber light, past vendors folding their stalls. His day ends not with celebration, but with peace. Tomorrow will come, more scrolls will be copied, more figures counted, the rhythm will return, slow, measured, and endlessly calm, and now, you too may rest. Like Lucius, your tasks for the day are done. The scrolls are tied, the ledgers closed. The lamps are out, and the night has come. There is no urgency, no call to rise, just the softness of the night, the hush of history, and the slow rhythm of sleep coming to greet you. Let your thoughts drift like leaves on the Tiber, gently turning in the moonlight. Let your breath slow, like the soft echo of sandals in a marble corridor long forgotten. You are safe here, in the calm, careful, and peaceful world of ancient Rome's bureaucracy. Sleep well. Years pass softly, like petals falling on polished stone. Lucius grows older, as all men do. His hair turns silver, but his steps remain deliberate. The ink upon his fingers is now familiar, not a mark of labor, but of purpose. The scribes around him change. Young faces arrive, eager and unsure. Older hands leave behind worn styluses and quiet smiles. But the rhythm remains the same, slow, thoughtful, and never rushed. Each day, Rome continues on, not in shouts or triumphs, but in scrolls quietly filed, in messages correctly stamped, in census counts inked in steady hands. The world outside might be louder. Wars may rise, emperors may fall. But inside the stone halls of the bureaucracy, time flows like water over marble, slowly, patiently, unbroken. You see, Rome's bureaucracy was more than ink and order. It was a living thing, an invisible network of human minds and steady hands, linking farms to granaries, villages to legions, laws to daily life. Without these unseen keepers, the men and women behind the scrolls, the empire could not have held together. They mapped roads, tracked grain, registered births, calculated taxes, and recorded offerings to forgotten gods. Each act was small. Yet together, they formed a calm, unshakable rhythm, like the slow-beating heart of the world's greatest city. And Lucius was part of that, not famous, not immortal in marble, but eternal in his way. Lucius, in his final years, teaches new scribes not just how to write clearly, or how to calculate census columns, but how to think slowly. How to breathe through the work. He tells them, the empire does not need haste. It needs care. He shows them how to trace a map from memory, how to store scrolls so the wax doesn't crack, how to seal a decree so it can't be tampered with, not to impress, but because it matters. And one day, he retires, not with ceremony, but with peace. He hands over his stylus, straightens the last scroll in his case, smiles, and walks once more through the arching corridors, the same ones he entered as a boy, now bathed in the same late afternoon light, gently golden. As night falls once more over the eternal city, the offices of the bureaucracy lie still. But within the shelves, within the scrolls and the names and the deeds recorded there, Rome lives on. Every citizen counted, every boundary drawn, every decree copied, each part of a quiet, unseen structure more enduring than stone. This is not the Rome of drama or fire, of conquests or colosseums. This is the Rome of thoughtful men and women, of the hush between thoughts, of the warm weight of history resting in careful hands. This is the Rome that lasted. And now, dear listener, close your eyes, if you haven't already. Let the quiet corridors of Rome fade into dreams. Let the scrolls drift gently through your thoughts like soft clouds. You've walked the halls of history, not with urgency, but with patience, with the same calm that held an empire together. You've met Lucius. You've smelled the beeswax and ink. You've heard the soft sounds of sandals on stone and quills on parchment. And now, you are safe. The night is here. The scrolls are sealed. The lamps are out. You may rest. Breathe slowly, as the bureaucrats did. Let the rhythms of ancient Rome cradle you, softly, into sleep. Good night. And sleep well. Let's begin, in the shaded courtyard of a Roman tabularium, where birds sing softly above, and order flows like water down a peaceful aqueduct. The sun is barely a golden sheen upon the rooftops of Rome. Somewhere near the Capitoline Hill, tucked between arches and rising colonnades, sits a quiet administrative building known only to those who serve within. It does not announce itself with fanfare or temple bells. It simply waits, its gates heavy and dignified, carved with scenes of wheat, scrolls, and olive branches. In a small courtyard just beyond the entrance, the day begins slowly. A fountain hums, the water cascading gently over worn marble, its surface cool even in summer. Several laurel trees stretch their long, narrow shadows across stone benches. Birds, perhaps sparrows or soft-voiced doves, flit between the branches. Their wings barely disturb the stillness. And beneath them, a few early clerks sit, scrolls in hand, sandals tucked neatly beneath the benches. They do not speak, not yet. There is a calm rhythm to this beginning. The city may stir and stretch around them, but here, in this square of shaded order, peace holds court first. From the courtyard, the clerks rise with slow familiarity. Their footsteps are measured, soft on the worn steps leading into the building. Sandals touch stone with a rhythmic hush. One carries a small wax tablet tucked beneath his arm, another a bound scroll sealed with red twine. The great doors of the building are not swung wide. Instead, they remain partially open, just enough to admit the faithful few who come early. A simple bronze hinge creaks softly as one slips through. Inside, the air is cooler, heavier with the scent of aged papyrus, olive oil, and stone. This is no place of spectacle. The tabularium, the archive and records house of the city, is built for quiet hands and organized minds. To the left, a long table bears small votive offerings, a clay lamp still warm from lighting, a dish of rosemary sprigs, and a shallow bowl of wine untouched since the previous sunset. A gesture of respect for Minerva, the goddess of wisdom, strategy, and learning, who quietly watches over those who sort the past. No prayers are spoken aloud, but a few heads bow before taking their place at long wooden desks. The room is filled with shelves upon shelves of scrolls, carefully categorized, lovingly dusted. Each shelf bears a tag written in Latin, denoting the type of record: tax rolls, shipping contracts, military assignments, building permits, birth decrees. And there, along the walls, are tall, narrow windows that let in the morning light, not direct or harsh, but soft, dappled, like candlelight filtered through linen. The hours pass with a gentle, uninterrupted hush. A clerk, no more than 30 years old, sits at a scroll desk. Before him, 3 unrolled scrolls lie side by side. He's comparing details, birth dates, tax assessments, and the land inheritance of a farmer's family from the province of Sicilia. His stylus moves across a wax tablet, etching notes in soft, looping Latin. No urgency, no need for haste. The empire turns slowly, and he with it. To his left, an older woman, gray-haired and serene, dips a reed pen into ink and begins to transcribe a decree issued under Hadrian, some 50 years prior. Her script is slow but perfect, the letters curling like ivy across the parchment. The room is quiet, save for the occasional sound of reed against scroll, stylus against wax, and the muted footsteps of a junior clerk delivering a tray of small clay cups filled with watered wine and honey. One might expect boredom, but here, among the scrolls, there is comfort in repetition, in precision. A kind of meditative peace. And outside, in the courtyard, the fountain still sings. As the sun climbs slowly, casting longer streaks of golden light through the high windows, the rhythm of the tabularium begins to deepen. In a smaller, inner chamber, tucked behind a heavy linen curtain embroidered with olive branches, there sits a table that few dare to touch without permission. Here lies the sacred order of time itself, the fasti, the official Roman calendar, meticulously maintained by select scribes. You might think of a calendar as a thing of months and numbers. But to the Romans, it was something far greater. The calendar guided everything, from the timing of grain shipments and tax collection, to the sacred days when no contracts could be signed. And so, a small group of white-robed clerks, entrusted with this sacred duty, move quietly around the table. Upon it lie wide, flat panels of wax tablets, some scored with recent edits. Thin styluses of polished bronze rest beside them. They murmur occasionally, not out of haste, but to agree gently on whether the calends or nuns fall before a feast day, or whether the Pontifex Maximus has decreed a new public holiday. A young scribe, barely into manhood, balances on a small stool to reach the upper shelf, retrieving the previous year's record. His movements are careful, like someone lifting a sleeping dove. Time itself feels slower in this room. These are the people who decide what days are sacred, what days are silent, and which days are most fit for speaking with the gods. And beyond their walls, Rome moves with their quiet guidance. Step now beyond the shadowy corridors and emerge into a small private courtyard nestled within the bureaucratic complex. This garden is not known to the public. It is not grand, but it is loved. Low stone benches form a square, surrounding a rectangular plot of soil that bursts quietly with color: lavender, rosemary, sage, and thin lines of green onions, their scent mingling in the warm breeze. A narrow stream runs through it, barely a trickle of water guided by ancient stonework. Its sound, gentle and trickling, joins the soft whisper of wind moving through the leaves. Here, the older clerks come to rest their eyes. To sit with a scroll, not for duty, but for pleasure. One elderly man, with hair like brushed silver, gently reads a copy of Cicero's letters while soaking his tired feet in a stone basin. A clay cup of water rests beside him, beaded with condensation. Not far off, a woman in a faded but clean stola hums a quiet tune as she trims a rosemary bush. Her other hand holds a wax tablet close, where she has begun composing a poem to Saturn. In this garden, the Roman world feels not like an empire, but like a carefully tended grove. One that breathes, grows, and remembers. And above, a fig tree offers shade. While the garden sleeps beneath the sun, beyond its walls moves a different kind of rhythm. The footsteps of Roman couriers, tabelleri, sound softly across flagstone floors. These are not loud messengers shouting across the city. These are the trusted few who carry words across the empire with the care of someone delivering a heartbeat. Clad in simple tunics with official seals tucked into leather pouches, they move from chamber to chamber, picking up scrolls tied with red or white cords, each color denoting urgency and origin. They travel light, with no more than a pouch of dried figs, a knife, and a ring that bears the insignia of their prefect. One steps into a side chamber now, where a scroll awaits, sealed in wax with the symbol of the Roman grain fleet. It will leave the city by nightfall and travel by relay, passing through waystations staffed by fellow couriers who wait with fresh horses, oatcakes, and warm wine. The scrolls they carry might concern a dispute in Antioch, a tax shipment from Gaul, or the building of a new aqueduct in distant Numidia. And yet, the hall remains quiet. These messages are not shouted into the air, but passed hand to hand, sealed in trust and ink. In another section of the complex, just past a quiet corridor painted with faded frescoes of Ceres and Mercury, is a room known simply as the Registra Vitae, the registry of lives. Here, births and deaths are recorded. But not in sorrow or celebration, in steadiness. A scribe sits at a broad table, and before him comes a young father, sandals dusty, a soft linen bundle in his arms. The baby's eyes blink up at the skylight above, utterly unaware of the scroll being filled out in her name. Lucilla, the father whispers. The scribe nods, scratches the name onto a register scroll, and then reaches into a drawer for a leaden tag bearing a stamped numeral. This tag is tied gently to the scroll, then filed with care among the others. The baby makes no sound. Elsewhere, another man quietly recites the name of his grandmother, who passed at 81. The clerk records it on a narrow strip of waxed vellum and folds it over twice before placing it in a wooden slot marked Defuncte. No tears, no celebrations. Just the gentle movement of lives being acknowledged. As if the empire is saying, softly, I see you. I remember you. In the heart of the Forum Romanum, just behind the statues and speeches, there stands a quiet sanctuary, the Temple of Concord. To most passers-by, it is a monument to harmony between the classes. A place of solemn assembly and imperial memory. But beneath its high steps, down a worn set of marble stairs that smell of old limestone and laurel, lies a chamber the public never sees. This is the vaulted archive of the state, a stone-walled repository that hums with silence. Here, in shadowed alcoves and under domed ceilings, rest the scrolls of Rome's deepest memory, treaties signed with distant tribes, senatorial decrees from decades ago, and the birth records of men long returned to dust. Iron candleholders line the walls. Their flames flicker gently, barely disturbing the stillness. The air is cool and faintly scented with myrrh and beeswax, preservatives for the ancient scrolls. A clerk in a gray-bordered toga moves silently across the floor, his footsteps softened by felted sandals. He carries a tablet listing the year 103 BCE, searching for a scroll buried in the corner niches. At his side, an older colleague hums a tune from childhood, perhaps to keep the long corridors from feeling too quiet. Though the vault is ancient, its order is impeccable. Shelves are numbered with carved Roman numerals, and painted icons above each archway depict its content: grain supplies, military dispatches, legal disputes, land grants. Nothing here is urgent, but everything is important. Far from the heart of Rome, across fields of golden wheat and dusty stone roads, a messenger arrives in the outskirts of Latium. He carries not a scroll, but a folded wax tablet, bound with cord and sealed with the symbol of the municipal census office. These wax tablets are the messengers of lesser towns and provincial posts, more practical than parchment, less grand than scrolls. They are etched with fine styluses, filled with census updates, property changes, or notes on taxation. And they are remarkably efficient. At a villa near the coast, a landowner opens the tablet with care and reads that his olive grove, though productive, must now be assessed under a new grain allotment law. He sighs, scratches his beard, and writes a reply directly onto the other side. That night, a young boy, barefoot, cheerful, ties it shut and hands it back to the tabellarius. No urgency, no upset. Just the calm, rolling tide of administration, moving across the hills like a soft evening wind. Back in Rome, the sun is beginning to drift downward, painting the tiled rooftops in amber and the marble columns in blush. Inside the central record hall, the air has grown cooler. A servant has lit the first of the evening lamps, their soft flames casting long shadows against scroll-filled shelves. It is time for the daily ritual of sealing. Scrolls approved for dispatch are gently bundled by color: red cords for provincial matters, blue for military affairs, white for civic and domestic notices. Each is inspected by a senior clerk whose hands move with the grace of long practice. He presses the warm wax seal using a brass ring engraved with an eagle above an olive branch. 1, 2, 3, press. Each seal leaves behind a quiet authority. The room smells of melting wax, old papyrus, and lavender water rubbed onto the clerk's wrists to keep the mosquitoes away. Outside the chamber, a clerk's apprentice arranges the sealed scrolls into wooden tubes, each marked with a tiny tablet of clay indicating its destination. The sun is nearly gone now. A final sweep of the feather duster across the inkpots. A sigh. The work is done, for now. When night finally arrives, the bureaucrats of Rome do not rush home. They walk slowly. Some stop beneath fig trees to chat. Others linger in the colonnades to sip cool water. A few light incense sticks before household shrines. Above them, the stars emerge, one by one. Cassiopeia, the Pleiades, Saturn, moving slow across the dome of the heavens like a silent scribe marking his place in the sky. And in dozens of tablinums and archives, scrolls rest where they were left. Wax hardens, ink dries. The empire breathes out. And somewhere in the dark, a clerk dreams of tidy scrolls and orderly ledgers. Of a world that makes sense, one document at a time. The morning sun glows low over the Basilica Julia, casting soft golden light onto its tall arches and open porticos. The first to arrive are not senators or lawyers, but scribes. Their sandals tap lightly on the mosaic floors as they enter with armfuls of scrolls, wax tablets, and inkwells wrapped in linen. They move without rush. One hums softly, a tune passed down from his grandfather, who copied scrolls during the reign of Augustus. Another unfolds a leather pouch containing carefully sorted reed pens, each trimmed to a different width for different types of script. Outside, a slow line of citizens begins to form beneath the covered walkway. They're here for the morning tax assessments, to verify land holdings, declare inheritances, and settle small civic disputes. But there is no tension in the line. Everyone knows this will take time. A baker from Trastevere speaks quietly with a potter from across the Tiber. A boy leans against his mother's side, holding a folded list of household items she needs registered. Soft clucks echo in the distance. Someone has brought a chicken in a basket, perhaps as payment or evidence. The basilica smells faintly of dust, olive oil, and the ink of bureaucracy. Not far from the forum, tucked into a colonnaded courtyard near the Temple of Vesta, sits a small office dedicated to inheritance scrolls. This is where families come after the passing of a loved one, not in grief, but in solemn memory. Today, a mother and daughter arrive just after the bells from the Aventine Hill fade. They are greeted by a female scribe, a calm woman with streaks of silver in her braided hair. She invites them to sit on cool stone benches while she unrolls a scroll dated from the previous year. The room is quiet except for the soft scratching of stylus on parchment and the distant flutter of pigeons outside. The daughter holds a ceramic pendant, her father's, and the scribe gently records its passage into her name. There are no loud voices here. No debate. Only the slow transfer of memory into record, the transformation of love into law. And when the scroll is sealed, the scribe places a hand over her heart and nods. They leave not with coins or titles, but with peace. At the far end of the basilica, a separate chamber holds what is known as the Aerarium Populi Romani, the treasury office of the Roman people. Here, Amid neatly arranged benches and shelves, a team of 3 scribes sits around a central wooden table. Their task is the most delicate, the balancing of the day's ledgers. Each scroll is unrolled slowly, carefully aligned, and held down with small polished stones. One scribe reads aloud each transaction. 7 denarii to the aqueduct fund, 12 to road repair, 8 received from Alexandria port fees. The second scribe double-checks the figures with wax tablets beside him. And the third gently adjusts the ink amounts on the master scroll using a damp brush to fade errors. There is no rushing here. Each number must sing in harmony. A single error could ripple down the empire's roads, temples, and bridges. Above them, small windows filter in streams of sunlight, illuminating motes of dust that drift like golden snow. To a visitor, it might look like nothing is happening. But in truth, the empire is being held together by ink, scroll, and trust. At midday, many scribes take their break in a nearby civic garden, hidden between administrative buildings. Olive trees provide cool shade, and trimmed box hedges form tidy paths where birds hop and peck. Some clerks recline on stone benches, eating dates or figs wrapped in cloth. Others read personal letters or short verses from poets like Ovid or Catullus, written in elegant script on small papyrus sheets. A young woman plays softly on a double-pipe flute, and the notes drift like wind through the leaves. Here, bureaucracy rests, not as escape, but as part of the balance. One must pause in order to serve. Even the empire, vast and mighty, needs time to breathe. As the sun begins its slow descent, a soft bell rings from the bronze tower of a nearby temple. It signals the second shift, clerks who begin their work after the noon pause. These are often younger apprentices, their hands still learning the flow of ink and discipline. Inside the basilica, they sit side by side with older scribes, their movements careful, their eyes wide. One apprentice stumbles over a line of text. His mentor smiles and places a hand gently over his, guiding the stylus. Together, they rewrite the phrase, slower this time. No one scolds. In Rome, to teach is sacred. Every accurate scroll, a gift to the gods of order. Outside, the streets are quieter now. Vendors pack up their wares. Children chase shadows in the dust. And deep within the administrative chamber, as the sun dips behind the Aventine hill, the heat of the day softens into a mild breeze. Rome's white marble buildings take on a blush of amber. Shadows lengthen. The sounds of the day, vendors' calls, sandals on cobblestones, carts rattling down roads, begin to fade. But not all of Rome sleeps with the sunset. In tucked-away chambers and quiet alcoves of the tabularium, Rome's great records house, lamplight flickers into life. Here, in the silent belly of the empire, the night scribes begin their gentle work. Inside the great tabularium, the air is cool, dry, and still. Long wooden tables stretch across a vaulted chamber lit by oil lamps set into bronze sconces. Their flames dance gently, casting warm gold light on the faces of a small group of scribes who work here only after dusk. These are the custodians of the census scrolls, the living ledger of Rome's people. They do not speak as they work. One copies clean summaries from the rough notes of the day. Another arranges tiny clay seals, each embossed with the sigil of a household. A third carefully labels scrolls with today's date and stores them in a numbered niche. There are no windows here. Time is measured by the drip of an olive oil lamp and the slow turning of parchment. They are not watched. They are not hurried. They are trusted. It is said that in this room, the memory of every Roman citizen breathes in silence every 5 years. The entire empire is measured. Land, livestock, professions, marriages, and children, all noted and recorded in the great census scrolls. Tonight, 2 scribes quietly review the section from Hispania, checking for duplicate households or missing entries. The elder one, a patient man with ink-stained fingers and soft gray eyes, speaks only when something is amiss. He gently hums between phrases, an old provincial lullaby from his youth near Gaul. The younger listens and watches, learning by rhythm. When they complete a page, they tie it gently with silk cord and pass it to a waiting clerk who places it into a scroll chest marked with the emperor's seal. A record is not merely a statistic. It is a person. And each is treated with reverence. Far from the bustle of the forum, at the edge of the Caelian hill, lies a small but essential annex, the temple archives. Unlike civic offices, this room is kept ritually pure. Before entering, scribes wash their hands with lavender water and place a sprig of laurel behind one ear. They work beside priests who maintain records of celestial movements, seasonal rites, and sacred oaths. Tonight, a senior temple scribe transcribes omens and weather records, noting the timing of winds and eclipses. Nearby, a junior clerk updates the calendar of religious festivals, aligning it with moon cycles. No voice rises above a whisper. The walls are lined with cedar shelves, each holding scrolls bound in red thread, the color of divine fire. Outside, cicadas sing beneath the stars. Inside, time moves not by hour, but by sacred alignment. As midnight nears, the clerks in the central offices begin their final ritual of the day, the sealing of the scroll chest. Each completed scroll is placed into a carved wooden case lined with sheep's wool and lavender. A clay seal is pressed over the latch, bearing today's date and the initials of the supervising scribe. Then, the chest is carried slowly down to a vaulted chamber beneath the Capitoline Hill, where it rests among the records of generations. The air down here is cool, heavy with the scent of clay and old parchment. Torches flicker in stone brackets. One final scribe, a woman named Calia, remains behind to write a closing line in the day's log. On this night, in the 7th year of Antoninus, Rome recorded itself once more. She folds the scroll, kisses the edge in quiet reverence, and blows out her lamp. Silence follows. The empire sleeps. Long after the markets close and the forum falls silent, beyond the candlelit offices of Rome's heart, messages are still on the move. Bureaucracy, in its quiet wisdom, never truly sleeps. Far from the city walls, ships gently rock in the harbors of Ostia, their sails folded like resting wings. On one of these ships, a slow barge bound for Alexandria, lies a sealed leather pouch, tied with twine and stamped with the seal of the emperor. Inside are letters and reports. Not for war. Not for conquest. But for clarity. For taxes counted. For grain measured. For lives known. Even in distant provinces, the hand of Rome reaches softly, not as a fist, but as a quill inside a modest stone building near the docks. Clerks of the Cursus Publicus, Rome's official courier service, work by lantern light. They sit at neat desks, arranging messages bound for distant places. To Gaul, a chart of grain tallies. To Syria, a census update. To Britannia, an inventory of legion equipment. Each letter is carefully wrapped in cloth, then placed in a satchel grouped by destination. The scribes here speak a little of many tongues, just enough to greet couriers or decode regional names. But mostly, they work in the universal language of order, dates, names, values, and signatures. One clerk, an older man named Proculus, dips his reed pen into black ink and signs a parchment with elegant care. His handwriting is said to be so even, it could lull a kitten to sleep. Once letters leave the port, they travel fast and sure along Rome's famous roads. Relay stations, called mutationes, dot the highways every few dozen miles. There, tired horses are swapped for fresh ones, and messages continue without pause. But the couriers are never hurried. They ride with dignity, wearing official sashes and carrying Rome's mark. As one courier stops at a roadside station nestled beside a sleepy olive grove, he dismounts, stretches, and hands off a scroll satchel to a waiting younger rider. They share a few words about the weather and the clarity of the stars tonight. Then the younger rider sets off again, hooves thudding softly on the well-laid stones of the Via Appia. Under moonlight, a message glides through the empire like a whisper in a cathedral far to the south, where the Nile winds through golden fields, lies the administrative heart of Roman Egypt. In Alexandria, scribes work in a cool, columned hall that smells faintly of papyrus and myrrh. Unlike Rome, here the ink is made darker with soot and resin, and the scrolls are shorter, better suited to the local climate. A young clerk gently unfolds a dispatch from Rome and smiles at the handwriting. It's from Proculus, the old man with the kitten's soothing script. She copies the grain quotas for this month and stamps them with the provincial seal, an ibis beneath the imperial eagle. Outside, the air is thick with the scent of blooming lotus and the sound of distant waves on the shore. Inland, farmers wait patiently for the annual flood to begin. But here, inside these stone walls, order flows always. Are seen the deserts of Mauritania or the forests of Germania. Yet she knows their measurements by heart. She knows which towns send figs in September. She knows how many blankets the northern legions needed last winter. Not by sword, not by shield, but by ledger, Rome rules. Her fingers trail gently along lines of ink on a map as she whispers to herself the names of places she'll never visit. Durocortorum. Arelate, Tingi. The candle beside her flickers. Outside, the first crickets of the evening begin their steady song. Inside, one empire breathes. On paper. As this part draws to a close, the gentle motion of the Roman bureaucracy continues, unhurried, precise, and almost invisible. The work is not dramatic. It is not loud. But like the pulse of a sleeping body, it is constant. Scrolls travel through darkness and across oceans. Ink dries beneath flickering light. Scribes sleep with calloused fingers curled gently inward. And somewhere, perhaps near a warm courtyard or beneath the great dome of a temple, a sealed letter rests, unopened, waiting to bring a piece of Rome, softly, to someone far away. As the last flame flickers low in the waxen dish beside the parchment, as scrolls are carefully rolled, tied with cord, and returned to their resting places, as the quiet hum of duty falls into silence, the empire sleeps. Not all of it, of course. There will always be a night courier stirring somewhere near the Tiber, or a scribe in Alexandria catching up on a missing page. But here, in this soft corner of memory, the day is done. The courts are empty. The pens are dry. The doors of the archives are shut with a low and thoughtful thud. The marble floors cool beneath bare feet. In a quiet atrium lit by the final stars of the Roman night, a clerk sets down his stylus and simply listens. To the hush of columns. To the faint wind beyond the forum's edge. To the nothingness between one page and the next. There is peace in that silence. Not the silence of forgetting, but of memory so well preserved it can finally rest. So now, dear listener, allow yourself to drift. You've walked the long halls of Roman record offices. You've heard the soft whisper of papyrus turning under practiced fingers. You've followed letters across seas, and imagined names scribbled into ledgers centuries ago. Now let those stories settle. Let them fold themselves into the shelves of your own mind, like quiet scrolls returned to their niches. There is nothing left to record tonight. No census to update. No ink to prepare. Only sleep. Sleep as the scribes once did, their fingers stained, their hearts steady. Sleep like the archives, locked for the night. Sleep, beneath the same stars that once guided couriers on roads now forgotten. You're safe now. The empire holds. The ink has dried. Good night.